Yo, what's up YouTube? Minecraft and Stories here. Before we get started, you better have your snacks, your juice, and your blanket, cause it's about to get real spoopy. And if you're new here on the channel, welcome. My name's AJ and I read spooky encounters, scary stories, and weird experiences that you guys send in to me. All proven, by the way, some even come with proof. And as always, I'm going to be playing Minecraft too. I started this world yesterday. I got a little bit done. I plan on trying to find some more gold and going to get a dog because there are so many zombies out here lately. I actually had a wolf, but it got killed. So, gotta go get a new one. But without further ado, let's get into your guys' stories. This story comes from Reddit user Klutzy-Breath3585. When I was 5, we moved into an old farmhouse. My room was the biggest and the only one with a closet. It was a walk-in with a tiny window near the ceiling, not big enough for anybody to fit through. It also had a door, just an open doorway that faced my bed. I can only assume my mom had never seen a horror movie in her life up to that point or something. I have ADHD. I was one of those kids that never slept. I was quietly playing with toys on the bed when I got this distinct feeling I was being watched. I looked up and saw what I can only describe as a shadow person that was darker shade of black than a dark closet behind it. The eyes were red. Obviously I was terrified. I froze in place until I put a hand on the outside of the closet like I was feeling for the light switch. Then I bolted and ran to my parents. My stepdad went through the whole place thinking there was an intruder, but there wasn't. I still remember it vividly to this day. I'm now 38. Whoa. Okay, that's kind of creepy. He didn't ever find him? We have to get more clues. We have to find out more about that story. This story was shared by sardonic_isolate. I used to work in a primate sanctuary in South Africa with many volunteers from all around the world. This one guy from the UK showed up. We knew right away something was off with him. He lied all the time about wild things. He used to steal from us. We caught him in the act, and he once injured himself so we could take him to the hospital and make a fuss over him. He also told me that he had been in trouble back home for setting his parents' house on fire. We thought it was one of his another outrageous lies, so we just ignored him. But there was a strange incident with the bushfire too. We had extinguished the fire and it was just mysteriously started up again in another area, just after we returned to bed. Then the monkeys started dying and we got suspicious. So we called his parents. We asked them to encourage him to move along and do something else with his time. His parents didn't use the tact that we had asked for and just straight up told their son that we didn't want him at the sanctuary. That night, I was woken up by a crazy guy and I couldn't see a thing. It was pitch black and my room was filled with smoke. I just remember screaming at him, "What have you done?" And he just walked away with this terrifying smile on his face. I had baby monkeys and other orphaned wildlife in my room, which I quickly got out as I ran past the garage. Our monkey kitchen, there was an explosion and a huge fireball. We managed to get all the animals from inside the facility into the cars and moved away from the property. We had neighbors helping with the fire extinguishers and the hoses, and the fire department were on their way. I was in a total state of shock, and the crazy volunteer just calmly walks over to me and asks for a light of his cigarette. The look in his eyes scared me more than I've ever seen before. He had this huge, dumb grin on his face. Once the fire was out, he went back to the house and went to sleep, while myself and the sanctuary owner tried to figure out how to feed all the animals, as the kitchen and the fridges had been destroyed. We were also too scared to sleep with him in the house. The next morning, we told him the sanctuary was closing and we had to leave. Bundled him up in the neighbor's car and left him at a bus stop in town. The police confirmed that the fire had been arsoned and that it had been started with an oil lamp and a blowtorch. I have nightmares still to this day and PTSD from the incident. He's just living his life somewhere in England, and this man didn't even go to jail. That's the part I can't explain. The owner just wanted rid of him because he hurt us or more animals. Whoa. What is that dude's problem? Bro's just starting random fires? I mean, I like fire, but bro just started a whole fire and almost killed all the monkeys. This story comes from user Todd Park. My sister-in-law always had weird stuff happen at her farm. There's been a lot of death there in the last couple years. One night she was watching TV in the living room and she seen something walk by her window. Now, the bottom of the window was 6 feet off the ground, and the chest of the creature was near the top of this big window. So it had to be close to 9 feet. The next day she went out to see if there was anything there, and there was just a bunch of broken branches where she seen it walk. She described it very tall, white, with a weird walk to it. She said it looked like a creature she's seen before at a beach that walked out of the bush and walked like it was possessed. No, I don't know about that. She's medicine, lives by a few reserves. The lake she seen it at was also a native land in a small town 10 minutes from her house. There was a doctor from back in the early 1900s that went mad and killed and ate his wife and kids. And some of his patients and people say he turned into a Wendigo. Excuse me? Okay, that went dark really quickly. So first off, we got somebody walking past the window, maybe a Wendigo, and it's really tall. And then we got this dude killing his wife and kids and his patients and turning them into Wendigos. What? This further story comes from user cold_pizza. I'm generally an anxious person, so I tend not to trust my gut as much as I should. However, that may be a good thing because when it's a super strong feeling, it's rare and I do as I trust. So the scary part, I was on a bus as usual, just looking around mindlessly as I do. Then I made eye contact with the man sitting across from me. Never seen him before, but my blood went ice cold and I can only describe his eyes like Richard Ramirez. It gives me the chills to this day to think about those eyes. I made sure the bus was gone before I went to my car so he couldn't see where I went. I was freaked out. It was like I was off a lightning bolt through my stomach and we made eye contact. It has never happened to me before, but since then, God, they were just big and black and I was terrified. I knew I was supposed to be with my now husband, and I knew I never wanted to see that guy again. This is about the extent of my gut instinct correctness. When it is overwhelmingly normal, I trust it. It was the strongest sensation that I've ever got that told me something is bad. Something is bad. And I was just sitting on the bus, but everything was screaming at me to get off. It wasn't the same anxiety as you get on a plane or something. It was, this is a bad person fear. It's hard to explain. Like, I've made eye contact with 1,000 of strangers, but when I made eye contact with him, I just wanted to throw up. He never did anything physically, but I cannot forget the jolting feeling of immediate fear. I've had random conversations with drunk homeless guys. I didn't feel afraid, but this dude, he made my blood run cold. I'll never forget his eyes. And the fact that I couldn't even get off the bus fast enough. He just looked like he wanted to eat me. It's the best way to describe it. Whoa. Something Ramirez eyes? I'm gonna search that up, and I gotta search that up just to see what she's talking about. Oh, Richard Ramirez. Oh yeah, that killer. He has always had those creepy eyes. Yeah, I would definitely get off the bus too. If y'all saw this standing right in front of you on a bus, what would y'all do? Luckily, I skate a lot in my town. I don't really take the buses because there are a lot of creepy, weird people, and I do not want to run into them, bro. This last story comes from Shish Has Hot Pockets. People will probably just brush this off, but I've had several pretty unexplainable events that I can't explain. I considered paranormal, and since the time has gone, it sounds crazy even to me, but there were other people with me, for some. Growing up, we always had what we just assumed was a ghost follow us from place to place, as we moved a lot when I was a child. It never seemed like its intentions were malicious, but it did seem territorial. It didn't like being called fake, as most activity happened when a guest was over. Once when my cousin was watching me while my parents were gone, I was telling her of past stories, and she just brushed it off saying ghosts aren't real. During that conversation, in the middle of broad daylight, while sitting in our living room, One of my friends knocked on the door, asking if I could come play. Assumed it was my friend, but as my cousin got up, she went to answer the main door. She opened it, and it slammed right in her face, and the deadbolt lock just locked on its own. Me and her were just so terrified. She called my parents crying and begged them to come back. Another was at a different house, but again, while someone new was around, my girlfriend and I were laying on my bed, and my two brothers, while they played with my iPod and me and her talked. It was our first time at my house, and I told her past experiences, which she thought was silly. Nothing had happened, so that was weird. I asked if she thought I was lying, and she replied yes, jokingly. Less than 5 seconds later, my bedroom door slammed shut. The ceiling fan started turning on and off. Several things I had laying on my nightstand just flew across the room against the door that slammed. And the doors on my dresser just started slamming shut over and over again. This is by far the most aggressive thing it's ever did. And all three of them were just screaming bloody murder, crying. Like I said, I'm not sure no one will ever believe this, but I have no reason to lie. Like I said, it's hard for me to think, even when it happened to me, looking back, thinking about it. Okay, I, for one, am not going to indulge into that. I don't even want to think about that. Doors slamming, things falling in drawers, slamming over and over. No, bro. The only way that I would settle for that if it was somebody using telekinesis or telekinetic powers, because that would be cool. But it's nobody there. It's just slamming. No. But that's all the stories for today. Make sure to comment down below and DM me for more stories. Hope you guys like my video and like my stories. Hope you guys like watching my video. And until next time, peace.